Oh, the world sure feels noisy and a little unmoored. Same power structures and playbooks, different decade, but same outcomes. What? We need to change the game. But Women Advancing isn't about fixing women. We're busy reorienting leadership for the world we're living in and the one ahead. I'm your host, Kate Byrne. Each week, I talk with the women shaping what's next. Join us as we reset the compass on Women Advancing. Hey, everybody, it's your host, Kate Byrne from Women Advancing. It's target calling. Yeah, those were the words. And you can imagine how they must have landed to a founder, entrepreneur, my guest today, Nancy Yen, founder of OmieLife, the company behind the wildly popular OmieBox, which is the first insulated bento box designed to keep hot and cold food together in one container for lunchboxes. But it has changed and altered the lives across the country. And the thing I love about this is, I think it was about 8 years ago before that call, Nancy had gone to Target and they said, sorry, we're not interested. And then 8 years later, ding dong, it's Target calling. Come on, that's extraordinary. So this is a story about a founder who has an extraordinary collection of career chapters that culminated in giving her everything she needed to make this business succeed. We're going to talk about, gnarly things like manufacturing, what to do because it wasn't an overnight success, the importance of persistence and willingness to stay with the problem. It's really about, entrepreneurship grounded in true observation and the guts and the grit to stick with it. And then next thing you know, maybe Target will be calling you. So with that, let's listen in to Nancy. Amazing, amazing conversation, plus some great KB takeaways, if I do say so myself. Let's listen. Women Advancing listeners, you are in for such a treat today. I'm so excited, and it's so fun when you meet someone that on paper you already respect. And then when you're in conversation with them, you're realizing, oh my gosh, we have so much in common. And this is the case with today's guest, Nancy Yen, who's the CEO and founder of OmieLife. And we're going to talk about how she recognized a market need, filled the gap. Sounds like textbook, but really it's hard. It takes a lot of discipline and the power of solving one real problem extremely well. And wait till you hear just how well she's done it. Nancy, welcome.
Thank you, Kay. I'm so happy to be on the show.
Oh, man, it's such a great time. And I'm just going to kind of go right on in because I feel like I've done enough of a teaser and I don't want to keep people dangling. But it's such a tremendous founder story. So, OmieLife, it all started personal frustration as a mom.
Mm-hmm.
At what point, how did you decide, you know what, if not me, then who, right?
Mm-hmm.
That this wasn't just your problem. And actually, a lot of people, when you were talking to them, were having this. So, hey, maybe there's this huge market gap and you could be the one to fill it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. So, it all started, I was packing lunches for my then preschooler. He was 3. Not quite 3. And he's always been on the smaller side. So we were always very worried about him not having enough nutrition. And sure enough, he went to school. He wasn't eating any of his lunch. So I would go to school just to help him. But at the same time, observed how he ate, how the children ate, how they interacted with food at lunchtime. And then I realized there was like this huge unmet need in the market, that there hadn't been a lot of innovation in this space for the last, since we're little kids. And it was ripe for something different. And so that was what gave me the impetus to start thinking about like what a new design could be, and just partnering with different people and doing a ton of market research to see how we could bring this to life.
Which is fabulous. And what I want listeners to know is one of the things that I love Nancy's background, because if you were to see it on paper, you'd go, there's a little here, there. It's not necessarily as linear, but it's absolutely created the perfect ingredients for this company that has gone on to become this powerhouse showstopper. So talk a little bit about that. I mean, you've got, as we were talking earlier, you've got the discipline from a Goldman Sachs and understanding of, financial situations. You've got LexisNexis research, all of that. You've got Gap, Old Navy, which alone in the retail world is such a blue chip brand in and of itself. So you've got the whole retail aspect.
Mhm.
How did you build and kind of make these shifts? Because I think, well, tell that story.
I wish it was so thought out. It really wasn't. It was very accidental, but it worked out at the end. So, right after college, I went to work for a consulting company in Boston for 4 years. And that was actually such a wild ride. We learned so much. It was very intense. I worked on projects for like AT&T for, the lottery
Oh,
system. I worked in Brazil. I worked in Korea. And it was just business school 101, like learned everything I needed to learn for business school from those 4 very
yep.
intense years. And that gave me a lot of basic knowledge about, doing market sizing, about doing consumer research, finances, a lot. It was a really good primer. Then went to business school. And after that, I thought I did a short stint at Goldman. I was just curious about that world, but it wasn't for
Yeah.
me. And then I wanted to work with products. And so while all of my other classmates went and did, pretty important things, I went to the Gap and I was a merchandiser. I did a couple of functions there. I started as a merch planner, then I did merchandising. And, that's usually a job for people who are like 2 or 3 years out of college. But I really wanted to learn the ropes. And I
Hmm.
was in charge of the accessories department and then later girls' wovens, where I did all the denim and also the Easter dresses. And I learned so much through that
I bet.
process. Anything from, like you were saying about Steve Jobs and the calligraphy class, it really taught me that aesthetics was really important and what is beautiful and how to make beautiful things, about running the P&L, like managing unit inventory buys, making sure you didn't have excess inventory. It was things that I had never learned before from all the years of consulting or from business school, and it was so great.
And you can only learn that hands on,
Yeah.
and you would be so less inclined to do so.
Yes.
One would be, right? And
Yes.
so good on you for finding yourself there and diving in.
Yeah, that was great. And I did that for about 5 years, and then, I had a call from a headhunter to go to a company called LexisNexis, which is so random. It's legal research, online legal research. I knew nothing
I
about
know
law.
LexisNexis because of advertising world. I smiled when I saw that. I'm like, "Oh my god, you're kidding." Anyway,
Yeah, how many people do you see coming out of Lexis? So,
yeah,
I ended up spending 5 years there, and, I learned a lot about the law. I'm not a lawyer, but in order to make products to sell to lawyers, you have to know a little bit, so in my spare time, I would just pull up some legal case laws or analytical content. I would just read it, so I knew what I was talking about.
yep.
And when I was there, I got really deep into medical malpractice and ended up inventing a platform for medical malpractice research. And it won the Cody Award. It's just so random because I'm not a lawyer and know relatively little, but I knew how to make a product. I think that's where, from the Gap experience, you can quickly spot a market need and then
Yep.
can you learn how to get a lot of consumer insights in order to make something that people really want. And I was listening to one of your podcasts earlier about human-centered design, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. It's really just hearing out what people have to say, observing pain points that they don't even know that they have, and creating something that meets their needs. So it wasn't all that different creating the medical malpractice tool or designing accessories at Gap to creating OmieBox. It was the same muscles that I'd been doing for the last 10 years since graduating business school, identifying a need, doing a ton of research in order to really understand what people needed. A lot of it is unspoken. In the early days of designing OmieBox, I would go to people's houses in the morning as they're packing lunch to watch them. Because a
Huh.
lot of what their pain points are, they can't even articulate to you. So it just takes watching them take things out of the fridge, pack it into boxes. Sometimes I go to people's homes after school to see how they would clean up and to understand their pain points there too. So, that was all how I started. And it just is shocking that everything that I had learned all this time through these random jobs all became so useful at the end as an entrepreneur.
Which is the thing that's so fabulous. And I've also got to say, your timing is good too, because I would think there's a bit of a sustainability message too, right?
Yes, yes, yes. And that's something we really try to lean into.
Yeah.
Over time, we've explored different materials and with always an eye on sustainability, where we launched some toddler plates about a year ago, and we're using a material called PLA that's made out of corn and it's compostable at the end of its life. So we're always trying to learn more about how we can be more responsible and how we can really push for sustainability in our products.
Which I think is so terrific. One, it's just great for the planet. Thank you for caring. But the other thing too is it's so terrific because there's so many consumers, right? Your customers who do too. And
Yes,
they're more inclined. And I swear, everyone listening, the more we build things like this from that point,
yes.
just the triple P's, people, profit, but planet, the whole world would be so much better off. It just will. And you'll have many more customers coming your way because you've got that purpose aspect just deep within to its very, very core.
We do. It's a very deep part of our DNA and it informs everything that we do as a company.
One of the things to me that has been most impressive is, you know, everyone, it's easy. The natural sometimes inclination is there's something you get started, you get this company, you're like, oh my gosh, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. But you really focused on this very specific everyday pain point.
Mhm.
So what did you understand, do you think, about like your consumer behavior, about parents that others just missed?
Yeah. Well, I mean, parents pack lunches 180 days a year. And when you have multiple kids, that's a lot of lunches that you're packing. I think it's just kind of like brushing your teeth. It's one of those things that you do day in and day out. And it sucks up quite a lot of time because you have to think about what you're going to put in those lunches. And you have to worry about allergies, whether they're getting enough protein. You don't want too much sugar. You don't want GMO. There's a lot of thought that goes through mom and dad's minds as they're thinking about this.
Yeah.
And yet the container that they put their lunches in has evolved very little over time, right?
Right.
So I wanted to make something that would be easy for parents to pack because a lot of times when you're trying to think about packing cold lunches, there's only so much you can do. But when hot is introduced, then you can do last night's leftovers. There's just a lot more options when you have hot as an option. So
Right.
that was something I knew I wanted. Another thing I wanted was that I noticed in my consumer research, parents would have to clean out a lot of different containers at the end of the day. So it was really
Yes.
important for me leaning into my Japanese heritage that we have like a bento layout. And that was worked really well for the kids. In observing the kids eat at school, I noticed that they would just open up the first container and eat whatever is in there and go off and play. Of course, they want to play. So it's
Right.
really important for everything to be visible all at once. These were kind of the two things that we knew we needed to have from observing, from talking to parents. And then we went around thinking about how we can make it all fit together into one single product.
Man, I'm just sitting there smiling because I had done de facto little bento boxes when the girls were little, because I also just realized they want a little smattering of this and that and this and that. But for me at the time, it was before they were making smaller little plasticky things. So you ended up having like 5 different plastic bags,
Right.
which
Exactly.
was just made my little tummy turn about, and I have to rinse. I just was like, I can't make this a completely wasteful thing.
Mhm, mhm.
Well, so was there ever, because you did so thoroughly, I mean, you bootstrapped, you
Yes.
prototyped, you failed, you redesigned. Talk a little bit about that. Was there a failure time moment, a misstep?
Oh, yeah, lots of mistakes along the way. I think it's foolish to think that you're not going to make mistakes and you're not going to have key moments of learning. But if you expect that and you expect that you're going to make mistakes and you're going to fail, you can't fail really big. You make lots of small mistakes. There's nothing to prevent you from making mistakes. But I would say this, I think we tend to be very thorough. So before we embark on something, we do a lot of research to make sure we understand different angles and different perspectives. And the beauty of the entrepreneur world is that I find everyone is always so generous with their time and advice. And in that way, I feel like it's my responsibility to pay it back. If anyone asks me for advice, I never say no. It's my duty
Yeah.
to pay it back. But there's just so many people that you can reach out and ask questions to, and you can really just gather as much information as you can. And ultimately, you're making decisions with imperfect information. No one really knows how something's going to turn out. You just do the best that you can, but you go into it with your eyes wide open. And if you take that approach, then 90% of the time you're covered with the big stuff. Now, will you make little mistakes? Yeah, make a million little mistakes every day. But what I do is I document those, I write it down. So at the end of every like key milestone event, I make a recap. And I write notes to myself in big bold font with like emojis, like,
Yes.
remember last year you blah, 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 and don't make that mistake again this year. And that just becomes part of our library of learnings for the entire company. And those learnings live forward on every single document going forward. So we don't make the same mistake twice. I think it's just about how you bounce back from those mistakes and make sure that you never do it again. And you will still yet make plenty of new mistakes. And that's part of the game.
Well, yeah. Now, was there ever a moment where you're just like, "Ugh, I'm tired. This isn't gonna work."
Sure.
And then what made you go, "Wait a minute, come on now. Let's do this thing."
Yeah. Oh, it's really exhausting being an entrepreneur. And there are times when you're the only one who's shouldering a lot of especially for me in the early days, I didn't have a big team. I didn't raise a lot of money. So for a long time, it was just me. And there are
Yeah.
times where I just didn't know how to move forward. There's certain decisions that were at crossroads and I had to make a decision. And there are times where I was like, why am I doing this? I can just go get a regular job and be fine. Right. And in those moments, the only people who pulled me out of those times were my friends and family, especially
Yeah.
my husband, who's incredibly supportive. And he'd always just say, look, I really believe in your product. It's very rare that there's product market fit. I know it's really tough, but take a break and then persist. And those words meant a lot to me and my friends too. And that's what kept me going during all the hard times.
Which is great when you, it's so important to have people that can, remind you who you are
Hmm.
and
Exactly.
what yeah, and what
And,
exactly is
as like a type
yeah.
A person, which I think you may be as well, I think it's really easy for us to be really hard on ourselves and not see how far we've come. And sometimes it just takes an outside person of all that you've accomplished and not all that you've failed at to remind you that, hey, you've built something, it's worth it to keep going. And I think that's where, having a really supportive network, whether it's your family, your friends, your colleagues, I think that's really important.
I completely agree, and I think sometimes when you've lost sight of it, just going and taking just half a beat, half a day, whatever, that's, "Oh my god, how can I do it?" Well, believe me, you can, because if you don't, everything will literally crash and burn.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
100%. You just need to take a step back. Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Mhm.
you talked a little bit about the whole corporate thing. I mean, that's part of it, right? Is you'd had corporate experience and you'd had a little bit of entrepreneurial experience. So this combination.
Mhm.
And you created a product within a corporate situation. So you're an intrapreneur. What do you see sort of as the biggest difference between innovating versus just going, I'm heading out, I'm betting on me, baby?
Yeah. So many differences. When I was inventing the medical malpractice research product, there are so many stakeholders. I mean, we knew we had something that was really game changing on our hands. And in every meeting, and one of the requirements is that you had to go to each head of sales and say, will you sign up for this quota to sell this product? And who
Ah,
would sign up for that? I mean, that's just adding extra pressure on their
right.
sales quota, right? So we got a lot of pushback like, "No, no, no, this isn't a fit for us. Like, this sales team, we're really not gonna sell it." And so you have to go to these meetings with the CEO, and each sales team would have to weigh in, and you have to say, "Okay, this is I want this money to make this investment. This is how much money I think we can make," and it's been bought on by the sales teams, and they're gonna be responsible for delivering this revenue. And I had one meeting where one of the sales teams said, "No, I'm not taking this on." And it really actually took one sales leader to stand up and say, "Hey, listen, this is the best product this company has seen in the last like several years. You'd be foolish not to do it." He said this to the CEO during a meeting. I was so grateful for him for saying that.
Oh,
And even then, it still went through a lot of hurdles to get it approved. And I think it's just, sometimes in the larger companies, there's more accountability. It's a little bit harder to move quickly. And there's a lot of buy in that you have to get from the different stakeholders. Whereas in OMI, we have millions of ideas at any given time. It's not about getting approvals to do it. It's just we don't have enough bandwidth. It's really fun to just tackle whatever new thing comes on and not have to go get approval for it.
that's what I was gonna say, and you've also got in the corporate world, right, you've got all that political capital, social capital, all the capitals, trust capital that everyone is trying to figure out and keeping track of, is this worth it? Is it not? Much more self-inflicted too, I think. How will this reflect on me as opposed to, wait, is there a real need?
Yeah.
So
No, it's true. And I was never very good at playing those games, so
I
it
hate
was
it.
really tough.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I know. Having done it, I am with you on that. I'm glad I learned a lot of lessons.
Yes.
Glad that part's done for
Same,
me,
same.
quite honestly.
It's very
Um,
inefficient.
right?
Yeah.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. So building a product and doing manufacturing and all of these things, what advice do you have for folks who are listening who are getting ready to do that? Because to me, I think I would have gone to that starting line, looked at that steep hill and went, okay, I'm not going to do that. I mean, where did you even begin? But I mean, I guess you did have the experience from Gap and such and from LexisNexis, but what advice would you give? And really, how did you? It's different when you're in a corporation versus little old you.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, that's a really great question. So I do wanna dig into manufacturing because that's been something that's very important for our company. I would say that every entrepreneur starts with a conviction, and they might not have the proof yet, but they have a conviction, and that conviction is what gets you to start this thing, which in itself is like a very haphazard journey if you really think about it, right? So
Right.
you have to really, really believe that you have something that is meaningful to you and to the world. And I think that belief will carry you, that energy, that momentum, it carries you into doing many things that you never thought that you had to do before. And it those tailwinds will help you learn about manufacturing, about setting up a website, about reading some legal documents for incorporation, about negotiating a sales contract. I think that's what every entrepreneur has to have in order to have the energy to pursue all the different things that you need to do as a founder. So I think that's what I had. I mean, maybe it's a bit of foolishness, like not knowing like all the hardship that would come, but I just really believed in my product and I thought, okay, I'm just going to go for it. And I did. So along the way, you have to learn new things, and manufacturing was something that I had not been exposed to. So even at a big corporation like Gap, like as a merchandiser, you rarely deal with the factories. We had production departments, we had a lot of people who dealt with them. So being on the ground and making a physical product, especially like a hard good, that's quite different
Right.
than making clothes, right? And it's when making clothes, you could iterate on a sample. You can make like as many samples as you want. But if you make something in hard plastic, every change that you make is at least like a 3-week tooling change and it costs money. So it's harder to make big mistakes because each mistake costs time and
Costs.
costs
Yeah.
money, right? So I would say with manufacturing, the first factory we found was a smaller factory. And when you first start, there's no huge factories that are going to be willing to work with you because you're unproven. So you have to start small. And when you start with a smaller factory, sometimes they're not as good as the bigger factories. And you do need to be there a lot. And you do need to call in outside experts to help you. So with the
Yeah.
first version one of the OmieBox, we couldn't figure out how to make it leak proof for a long time. And
Mm.
we reached out to friends and ended up the guy who helped us make the leak proof seal was the guy who designed the first Apple mouse. He was the senior engineer at IDEO and he had retired and he had time and he was brilliant. And
Oh,
he helped us design this seal. It took a lot of iterations, but he also taught us so much in the process about he looked at all of our tooling, he like gave feedback, he really helped us and I'm so grateful to him for his help. And that kind of got us, started with OmieBox. And then we really learned quickly that you needed to have boots on the ground. So I started spending significant portions of my time overseas. I would just live there for 3, 4 weeks at a time. I had little kids at the time, so it was really difficult being away from home, but
sure.
you had to do it to get it done well. Anyone could make a product. It's really difficult to make a very good product. And then that's where I learned about QC plans, testing reports, like daily transmissions of those reports, having people at the factory at all times to have eyes on everything. And so we slowly built that up over time. And slowly over time, we also went to better factories that had more of these internal capabilities. But it's a process. And I think you have to just expect that in the beginning, it's not going to be a great factory. You're going to have to be there a lot. And over time, it does get easier. And you will learn a lot about how to do it in the process.
That's what I was gonna say. It is your own it's a version of your own education. And this is just all kind of making me think because manufacturing is one of those gritty things, like, I think of as finance and things. I've always told people, "You get hold of a P&L and L and learn how to do the numbers. Just
Mm-hmm.
do." And you may not like it, you may not be good at it, doesn't matter. Get smart enough and understand that, have a proficiency,
That's right.
fluency of it, and then surround yourself by people who love doing that kind of thing. But and I think it's one of those things where I know enough to really have an understanding. To this end, I have kind of an odd question, and this is just kind of coming up. I know you've got an MBA, and there are a lot of people that are talking about MBAs. Is it worth it? Is it not? Did you find it worth it?
I did. I will not lie to you and tell you that I have forgotten everything I learned in Accounting 101.
That's easy. I believe it. Yeah. I would banish it out.
Uh, but the network is invaluable.
Yeah.
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 So it's really easy to pick up a phone and just, call friends and ask for advice and know that you're getting genuine, unfiltered advice.
Right.
And it's not just people in your class, it's the whole alumni system. And everyone wants to help. And it's really powerful.
And helps. And that's gotta feel talk about a wind beneath your wings. And you'll get more often than not, like, really honest. Someone will stop you from yourself falling in love with that idea when it's like, "No, you should really listen to what the research's data points are showing you," I would imagine, too.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
Well, so, it's speaking of people listening and have finding needs and such and demand, I know you've had some recent really good great news. What's next? And tell us about the great news.
Oh, yes, yes. So last year we did a test with Target in 400 stores during back to school season. It did extremely well. We blew out in less than 2 weeks. So this year they invited us to do an all store back to school setup, which we're super
Wow.
excited about. And so funny, we just redesigned our packaging for Target. And yet again, we seem to have a connection to Apple, Kate. And we hired a Spanish design agency. And unbeknownst to us, they had just designed all of the icons for, I think, the new MacBook. I don't quote me on that. I'm not sure which Apple product, but they had redesigned that. So,
Oh, how funny and
oh,
cool.
right. Such a
Yes.
funny, we didn't go out to look for that. It just happened. But we have beautiful new packaging, which we're really excited about. And starting in October, we're going to be in line all year round in 900 Target stores across
Wow.
America.
That is like, congratulations. That's such the crescendo, but the woohoo.
Yeah, and actually I wanted to say when I first
Yeah.
went to Target maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I flew out to Minnesota in the dead of winter to
Yeah.
try to pitch them. And at the time, the feedback that I received was that, the market wasn't ready for a more like a pricier a lunchbox, and they just didn't think that it would fit into their assortment. And so I was really disappointed and I left and just felt like, oh gosh, like I don't know if this is going to be a business. And just for those entrepreneurs listening, I just want to tell you, come, 6 years later, Target called us and they said, hey,
Ah,
listen, like we think that you would be a great fit for our assortment. Of course, there's such lovely people. We're happy to work with them, but a no is just a no in a point of time. It's never a no forever. And so just kind of keep that in mind. Like nothing is permanent and it's just a momentary no. Like later on, things will shake out differently. And so just don't be discouraged. Keep going, keep doing what you love, being really authentic, and success will come.
and circle back because I often say no is not yet, not now,
Agreed.
not for now. But to your point, later, it just means either you're not ready for it or it's not ready for you.
Yeah.
And think about it. Now you've got so much more knowledge and so much more consumer case here and confidence and experience, and also your own network that can help you actually fulfill the gazillions of orders. It's perfect timing.
I agree. And if I were 100% honest with myself, I wasn't ready. When I went to pitch them, I wasn't ready. And so they saw that and they luckily they pointed it out to me. So I think it's just, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But they saw something else so that they came back.
Hmm.
So I don't want to say audacity in any disrespect, but the bullishness which is awesome. They're like, okay, we like that, but not quite yet. And now it's like, boom. And we need something new. We need someone who's going to have a lot of confidence to help us really stand out this lunchbox season. Bam, there you are.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So just keep persisting. I think that's what this journey is all about.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, so would that be the advice that you would give yourself? Because what I was going to ask you lastly was, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your younger self?
I wouldn't tell my younger self like how hard it's going to be because I think it would really quelch the
Yeah,
passion and so I would say you will learn more doing this in than anything that you've ever done before. And you will come out the other end a very different person than you were when you first started. And that to me alone is 100% worth the journey. The hardships and the setbacks and the successes and the milestones, all the good and all the bad that you're going to hit, it's really going to shape you into the next best version of yourself. And that to me has been 100% worth everything.
every bit of it. And it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. And it's going to happen again. Because once at least my experience, once I've done something, I'm like, oh God, okay, oh, I did that. Then all of a sudden that little tickle, tickle, tickle makes you go, oh, I got to do it again. Okay. And you have that to look back on,
It's true. It's
right?
a real confidence builder, right? If you've done something, then you have then you have you can do it again. And it's really empowering. And it spills over into all aspects of your life, how you are with your family, how you are with friends, with the outside world. I think that confidence really shines through. And so I am really grateful for having done it. I think I learned more in the last 10 years than I have in all of the corporate jobs that I've ever had. So it's been really, really great.
Oh man. And Nancy, I got to tell you, hundreds and thousands of moms are thanking you, and dads too, and kids too, are thanking you the world over for this, for going out and believing in yourself and believing in something that you just knew, you knew. And just the fact that you even went into people's homes and watched how they packed lunches. I mean, duh. In a way, so many people would never have thought of that, but that's just so intimate. It shows such a level of nuance and a recognition
Yes.
of sometimes, I don't know if emotional toil is too strong a term, but, there's a lot of thought that goes into a lot of intentionality that goes into making lunches and just recognizing that and honoring that, and then everybody wins in the end.
Agreed. We always say that our product is just something that protects all the love and hard work that parents put into making lunches. And that's really what it is. It's just like a vehicle for them to send their love to school with.
Ugh, I'm gonna get my husband to pack me one.
Yeah.
out there in the world. But no, in all seriousness, Nancy, thank you so, so much for doing this, for making this, making this company, making these boxes, making this market. But also just your grace and your generosity of spirit and sharing your knowledge with everyone. I know there's been a ton that people have learned. We're going to include your information, obviously. So if people want to go ahead and order directly and all sorts of things, or go check you out in Target. So
Thank you.
I can't wait. I'm going to feel so fancy. When will they go on sale, do you think, in Target?
Around July 4th, that's when they flip the schools or the stores are back to school.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Perfect. Well, on behalf of me and everyone who's listening, thank you for everything you're doing. And I cannot wait for our paths to cross again.
Thank you, Kate. It's been a pleasure.
Until next time. Oh, I could have gone on and on with Nancy. There's so many lessons there, really important, very true, and very honest reality checks with becoming a founder. So here are a couple of my KB takeaways. I think first and foremost, wow, best business ideas are usually often hiding right inside everyday frustrations that people have simply learned to tolerate. And often they're right in front of your very eyes. And as such, Nancy, takeaway number 2, she didn't invent a trend. She actually then took the time and observed behavior closely enough to see where the innovation was missing. What was the actual root of the pain point? Imagine going into people's homes and watching how they pack and unpack lunches, watching how kids eat lunch, what they want, what they don't want. It's extraordinary. It also speaks to why, frankly, OmieBox is about to be a huge, huge, amazing success. Category-defining companies are rarely built through fancy glamour. It's a lot of blood, sweat, tears, tremendous amount of iteration, huge persistence, and then staying committed to solving the actual problem, not getting too scattered, not hanging in the towel when you run into a little bump, but just understanding that you got to stick with it. And by doing so, in the long run, it'll work. Part of the other key is something I've talked a lot about. Her career is a beautiful example of it. When you were following your gut and doing your sometimes seemingly horizontal, zigzaggy career ladder, what matters is it works for you. And next thing you know, all of those points are key Jenga pieces in building this extraordinary product, extraordinary company. Nancy exemplifies this and everything that she did. Really understanding your customer so deeply and the lived experience makes all the difference because the customer feels like you're actually speaking to them. And then finally, it's so tempting to go, what am I thinking? How can I do this? Who are you not to? So if not you, then who? One of my favorite lines from an earlier guest, Kate Korngold from Feathery, and it's more than ever applicable here. So with that, all you founders, keep with your ideas. Don't be afraid to ask. The world truly, as Nancy said, is actually kind, and we're all here to support you. So with that, thanks for listening. I look forward to the next time we get together on Women Advancing.
Thanks for listening. May this episode inspire you to move forward. Be sure to go to iTunes, Spotify, katebyrne.co, that's KATEBYRNE.co, or wherever you listen to your podcasts and listen to even more episodes. Here's to strong women. May we know them, may we be them, may we raise them. And be sure to meet them on the next Women Advancing. Till next time.